What's good with y'all? You know what it is. It's your boy, the chosen one, God's chosen son. And today, we got a special guest. And introduce yourself, man.
What's up, y'all? It's Camille, or I'm mostly known as King Connect. Just another brother in the truth, man. Trying to do right, trying to walk up right, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, to start the video off, hopefully my camera don't get to glitching too much, but start the video off. I said in the last video, I was gonna be working on a Discord server. This is said server for people to come together. I'm gonna have a link in the description for people to join the server. This is for believers in our Father, Yah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and for people who feel like they don't have an outlet in a city or a town of people to converse with, to have intelligent God-like conversation with, or if you just may be new to the faith or have been in the faith and you struggling or you have any questions, brother Connect right here. He gonna be one of the mods as well as my homeboy Born Row. So yeah, the link is gonna be in the description. Join at your own leisure. With that being said, man, today's topic we want to talk. We're gonna be talking about the castration of men, like how society is trying to castrate men. You know, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Now, you can go ahead and start off. What was you about to say?
Well, now I was about to say, I see it everywhere. I've been subject to that, those attacks, and it's really part of the adversary's grand scheme to keep things out of order. To keep the divine order from being practiced, and that's why we have a society like the way it is, where it's dysfunction. This world is filled with cowards, and filled with people who feel that keeping this system the way it is more important than being comfortable. It's more important than standing on what's right. Standing on simple things as the truth, righteousness, order, or even things that pertain to uh integrity. Those things are put on the back burner, and men are taught to hush it up, or have respect to persons, or just let it go. And I see it time and time again, and it is a plague that's upon this earth. And when you don't subject yourself to that indoctrination, to those teachings, you become an enemy. You become like Neo, and shoot, those Agent Smiths, they don't mess with that. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely. Now, man, me and brother Connect, we've been talking about this off camera and whatnot. I wanted this is what kind of really sparked the concept of this video is because like my whole life it's been like a thing where a lot of people, and I'm gonna keep it a bean, a lot of women in general, a lot of women in my life have dubbed me mean. Like my little sister, for example, she swears, she just be like, you were so mean growing up and all of this type of stuff. And I admit it's times I could be a bit selfish, and being younger, you be a bit more harsh. But I've gotten that in my older age, and I've recognized I got this when I just told the truth and just was blunt. Now we talked about people who often they be like, I'm a bad bee, I'm a real ninja, I'm a real bee, right? But and people be claiming they want people who are real around them in life, people that's gonna keep it a stack 100. But the fact of the matter is, when you just walking in your purpose as a man, like men are meant to be stoic. That's in our nature, like, and they've done it's a war on masculinity to this point where they people will shame you, be like, why are you so mean, why are you so this, why are you so uptight, why are you so when we are a group of human beings who our whole life we get tried by the fire in order to gain rougher exteriors. Not meaning we not humans, but at the same time, it's like we gonna have an edge. A man is supposed to have an edge to him. If somebody breaks into your house, you supposed to be willing to defend yourself, even if it mean you got to do something is what somebody would call sick, is gouge his eyeballs out. Like you supposed to just have that edge as a man. But obviously it's an agenda to castrate men because you have feminism. For one, you have feminism, you have the soy and the stuff they put in food, you have pornography, all stuff that's meant to, you have doom scrolling. These are all things that's scientifically proven to lower a man's testosterone. So going back to the whole mean thing, I've heard this for a long time, just simply because a man is supposed to stand on principles. So you supposed to call out wrong. That's what the Bible tells us to do. We supposed to call out iniquity and injustice, so the blood is not on our own hands. Therefore, um, I've done this with people, and in particular, a lot of women, like people, the women that I've been around, women in my family, acquaintances. You will often hear this type of language where they say things such as like, they'd be like, "Well, you're acting misogynistic, or that's toxic masculinity," and it's like, no, that's just normal masculinity. That's not misogynistic, because misogynistic means you're a man that hates women. A lot of the times, as men, we will correct y'all. We will correct women. I'm not gonna say y'all. We will correct women. For the shoot it fits. We will correct women, and they will reject it, and then they will go on to shame us for said correction, and then they will fall into the same pitfalls and traps that we tried to correct them on later in life. And it's
That
like, and I read a scripture out of Ecclesiasticus, or I sent one to our little group chat, and it said, fathers, protect your daughters' bodies and be not cheerful unto them. And and it start with us men, right? A lot of us men have a problem on babying our women, on acquiescing to their whims, and it start with your daughters. Like it say he who what's the scripture? He who don't chasten if his son with the rod, he hated his son.
native his son.
He hated or in this case he hated his child. Like it's not just your son, like it's your children. You supposed to chasten them. You're not supposed to be cheerful and be your daughter best friend and treat her like a princess. Obviously you do for your children, you do for your kids, but you got to understand what this do to the mind of our women in the beginning, because now she feel like she can go out in life and get away with everything. She don't have to listen to no
Mm-hmm.
authority, because and
Then
it's go ahead. Yep, I'm
then I
talking.
was about to say, then you had this society where they try to teach men to have chivalry, while at the same time, simultaneously saying that the woman doesn't have to be held accountable. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So it's like a the society is trying to enforce the goddess complex in the woman, the where they just supposed to get what they want. They ain't supposed to be held accountable. They ain't got to be considerate. They can be pure uh narcissists, and we're supposed to deal with that. We're supposed to bow our knee and feel no type of way about it, no matter how they deal with us, no matter how they make us feel, whatever. It's all about them. And you see that, as you said, once we show signs of masculinity, we get shamed for that, and we get called, not real men. We get challenged in our masculinity. They when we show that we masculine, they try to compare us to being insecure, or all
Ain't
these
that the
different
truth?
type of things that equals up to foolishness, because being masculine is being stern. Being masculine is being confident, and being confident in the right things. And it's just unfortunate that we live in this world where people are called good evil and evil good. But that's why the Most High commands us men, that we We have to be masculine. It says a effeminate men would not pertain, he would not enter the kingdom of heaven. So of course the adversary has set all these different things in place to throw off the the balance of the earth, the balance of man and woman. So to try to get more souls to be outcasted. And it's just a war, man. We got to make sure that we, no matter what opposes us, no matter who it is, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, whoever, we got to make sure that nobody takes us out of that frame. Whether it be your boss, coworker, or whatever, we have to respect ourselves enough to operate in the terms that our creator set for us. So that we won't be subject to the wickedness of this world, because at the end of the day it's all wickedness. you know the 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 persecution we get for just being men, the shame that we get for being confident in truth, for being stern in truth, for being bold. And even the sayings of, you mean, and all that, yada yada, all that be manipulation. Because when the tables turn, when they can show actions that prove that they don't care, they don't care about you, or they don't care about your mental or whatever, through their actions, it's not that same energy that they keep. It's no longer mean. It's you know well, I feel like I deserve this, or I'm mama, or I'm grandma, or you know what I mean. It's no accountability. So it's like we gotta really be confident and have no shame in doing what's right. Have no shame in being masculine. Have no shame in speaking the truth. And even if you have to go alone,
Oh, I'm glad that
it's important.
I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, let's segue into talking about that. Like a big issue that a lot of men in today's society have is they be afraid to go at it alone. Like um they just be afraid, like, and that's where the whole idolization of the woman comes, that divine feminine comes from. That's why I always sit up here and say, we could sit up here and talk about what the women is doing wrong all day, but at the end of the day, it's on us men. We the lead. If you going back to the story of Adam and Eve, you obviously Eve brought sin into the world, but Adam was like, he was like, well, she the one that gave me the fruit. And it's funny that in the Bible, this is a common thing. Some of the greatest men in the Bible failed because a woman tempted them. Not saying that was that woman's fault, because we gotta specify this for people that watch, because people be wanting to throw out slander. Y'all hate, y'all, it's hate speech and all this type of stuff. And not saying that was the woman's fault, but her role she played. Satan was able to use her to tempt David, to tempt Samson, to tempt Solomon, and ultimately they went for it. So obviously that's the part where Adam, David, Samson, Solomon had to take accountability for, because that's your sin. You fell into your sin. But ultimately, that's what happens. We have to understand these themes and apply them to our lives. That's what happens to most men, all if not all men. Like a lot of the times, a woman it can be a man's biggest detriment. That's why I say in the book of Proverbs, a wise woman buildeth up her house, a foolish one plucketh it down. Because and we just live in a society where most people are fools, but ultimately, spinning the block, we had to be okay with walking alone, bro. Think about, if you a man watching this, think about how many times you probably felt peace in your life when you just went at it alone. You didn't have no companion. You kind, if you ever removed yourself for a specific period of time from just the female influence, because we need to be isolated in order to speak with God. But I noticed this be happening a lot with men that be in relationships, like, because once we get in a relationship, a lot of the times, men, as men, we be scared to lose that woman for whatever reason. and then we get to acquiesce, and that's when they call them the shit test. They come, and men get broken down over time. Women be throwing out little tests in order to see what they can get away with. It's really childish, but ultimately that's why as men, we got to start growing up, bruh, and we got to start being cool with going at life alone, and like I said, being unapologetically bold. We supposed to be bold as lions, especially Judah. As quote unquote black men, we supposed to be bold as lions. We are literally the tribe of the leaders, the kings. So it's like, could you imagine David being like a woman over here talking about, you ain't give me flowers, David. You ain't. It's the king, bruh. Like, and he like, what is you talking about? I got disciples and all this type of stuff to attend to, and she whining because he won't go to sleep on the he won't write her a letter before he go to sleep. Like, what are we talking about? Because that would be the
That
equivalent of being on the phone overnight.
I say a big factor about like modern day relationships is it takes if you allow it, it will take you away from purpose, true purpose, and it will create idols. And I think that's a big thing that's going on this earth, where the significant other, especially the woman, becomes an idol. They got the term happy wife, happy life, with that's not necessarily true. You know what I mean? They got the term all type of different things that pertaining to the idea of my she's a goddess, she's a you know what I mean. But when it comes to a man standing firm in his masculine, is outcasted. And part of us doing that is part of God's purpose. It's part of God's order. We're supposed to do that. We're not supposed to be cowards. We're not supposed to be weak. We're not supposed to be fools. We're not supposed to continue to let people manipulate and use us, or people to, step all over us. That's not what God has set in order. It's getting to a point where most men are treated below being a human being. It's especially, uh if you're a real man, they're gonna try to deem you to be lower. They're gonna try to lower your confidence. They're gonna try to attack your your masculinity. And ultimately, man, it's all spiritual, and we have to recognize these things, and continue to have faith in our God, because this is, a conviction that we have ultimately because of God. You know what I mean? So us compromising, and understanding that if we compromise for this world, then we are making ourselves at odds with the Most High. So with anybody, man, you have to stand firm on your integrity. You have to stand firm on the truth. When you're right, you're right. It doesn't matter who it is. Your pops, your mother, your whatever. If when you're right, you're right. Have firm, stand firm in that. Have confidence that God is with you because of that. And no matter whatever, the consequence may be, because ultimately our God is in control. Ultimately, our God will reward us for, the obedience. Because at the end of the day, as I keep saying, man, this is commanded for us to be masculine, for us to be bold. God is bold. God is masculine. When you read the word is like the word is not saying, okay, you can do this if you want, okay, I say thou shalt not. Well, maybe you can do it if you want. The word says thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not be,
And then and
don't be
then
a thief, don't murder. Yeah,
and then goes on to give consequences. Then
exactly.
goes on to give consequences. So it's like I tell people this, right? You can live how you want, right? And 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 it don't only be women perpetuating the feminism narrative. It be men too. They be white knighting and all of this type of stuff, and it's indoctrinated, and that's really where the danger lies. But ultimately, I tell people all the time, like, you can do what you want to do, right? You can go out here being a feminine man, let people walk all over you. You shouldn't let nobody walk on you over you, no man nor no woman. If you at your workplace as a man and it's people doing dirty and trying to get over on you, you tell them what it is. Nah, I'm not for that. You can't be afraid to lose things within life. Our treasures is put up in heaven. Like, God is gonna give us back 100 times more than what we lost. And true believers, true people, this of the fold, understand that. I find it ironic that so many people, especially this day, we're going to do a conversation talking about this too. To believe in God has become a fad. It's so many people talking about they believe in God, they this, they that. But did you read your word and get to know God and get to know your role and your place? Because ultimately, this is a video about understanding our roles. I often say on this channel that in this day and age, men and women, we just don't know our place. And a lot of women, they get offended when I say, like, oh yeah, women don't know their place. The fact of the matter is, you don't know your place. It's a hierarchy. It's the Most High. It's Yahuwah. It's Yahusha. It's man, and then it's woman, and it's children. That's the way it's always been meant to be. And once we start coloring outside those lines, that's where you get broken homes, abortions, and all types of stuff. Baby mama, BD drama, all of this type of stuff. But it's like, ultimately, as men, like I said, we got to take accountability. I was in the gym earlier, and it was these two guys. I overheard their conversation. One of them was talking about his wife. One of them was talking about his daughter who was dating a guy, and they was both saying, the dude was saying how his wife make more money than him, and this is vanity, but he was talking about how his wife make more than him, and then he had his the other dude was talking about how his daughter make more than her boyfriend. And then these dudes start going into talking. They be like, "Yeah, I be tired of that overly macho stuff." They was like, I teach my daughter, don't depend on no man, don't do this, don't do that. And it's like, these are the same teachings, and this is men saying this, bro. These are the same teachings that got society, especially in the black culture, so degraded in the first place. Like, it's not about dependence or not on a man or whatever. You just supposed to, as a woman, you just supposed to take accountability for your actions and take the leadership of men, because we are men and we know what a good man look like. We know what a man who has substance looks like, and you supposed to choose wisely. And then you won't have no problem following that man. A lot of the times, for the women out there, you are watching, a lot of the times why y'all be so disrespectful to men, is because the men you deal with aren't worthy of respect. But then you will get one that a lot of the time is, or they may be in your family. You disrespect them too because you was never taught what an actual man really is supposed to look like. Because we have fathers like that that's coddling. We have fathers like that that's talking about equality. God didn't make things equal, bruh. That's just how it is. That's the facts of the matter. That's the truth. And a lot of people don't like that inherent truth. Even for us men, like, bruh, in society, we aren't respected. We not cared about. That's why the war is against us. Because Satan know. That's why in the Garden of Eden, he went to Eve first. He knew, he was like, if I can get her, she's going to convince him. He didn't go to Adam for a reason. Adam wouldn't have went for that. Adam would have asked questions. He would have sat up there and had some discernment. He'd have went. Ultimately, I believe he'd have went back and talked to God like, yes, a serpent came through here. What's that about? But the woman never thought about all of that type of stuff, right? So our role as men is so important, because when we get to perpetuating the narratives, these type of narratives and agendas, we hurt our own selves and we hurt our own communities. And we take the respect and the power out of our own hands. That's why we meant to be bold, meant to be stoic, meant to tell people tell people, men and women alike, the truth. I often
Like,
call people, the term I call men that just acquiesce to everything a woman does. We got two terms, man. We got squeegees, which that come from a streamer named LTG. I ain't gonna act like we that's ours, but they call squeegees. These usually the soft dudes that's gonna just do anything a woman say. She could treat him however she want to treat him. He gonna go buy her flowers. He the hopeless
it's a lot of
romantic.
those,
Yeah,
man.
he the hopeless romantic. And then we got number two, mind meets. This the dude that this the man. When y'all be saying men are misogynistic and all of this type of stuff, or speaking the truth, no, and saying we hate women, no, these are the men that really actually hate y'all. The man is coming to your crib. The man is busting you down. And he ain't gonna call you back or whatever. Or you get in a relationship with him. He don't give you no type of sustenance. It's just for the thrill. He don't stimulate your mind. He don't try and sit up there and help you with the things you struggle with, your addictions. He might just throw you some money. He's shutting up, and he gonna sit up here and just give you meat whenever you want. Mind meat. He gonna be quiet when you get to berating him, because ultimately you don't respect him. You don't respect them. And these be the guys women choose because it be for the thrill, but you don't respect him because he has no leadership qualities. But ultimately, women want men with leadership qualities, and that's why they always keep one in a back pocket. This that has that in order to just be the safety net later. But it's a deception from the devil, because like I've been saying before, it's options for a lot of women. But ultimately, like I said, those are two type of men we got over here. They be falling on either side of the spectrum, and then you got the righteous men in the middle who kind of just watch everything happen. We know, like, all right, bro, it's a season I can't really talk to no women because I gotta focus on me. I gotta focus on purpose, or it's just not the time, right? But those two archetypes, they just can't help themselves, right? It's one is all about sex, and the other one is all about trying to strive to find this. It's basically they version of trying to find a Disney princess. It's just like
They want
how women be trying to find a Prince Charming. Dudes be out here squeeging and dealing with harlots and all types of stuff, thinking they could turn her into a Disney princess. It's just two people trying to transform each other into who they want them to be.
to.
And
Yep.
ultimately, this will be where we our last little topic. Ultimately, that's what the agenda is against men, is to get us to be what the system, or what this person, the idea in the head of the system, or this person that you with wants you to be.
Hmm.
Like, I can change this person. I can make them. How many times have you been in a relationship, men out there, and you just yourself, and you just notice all of these. A woman will hide behind standards and talk about all of her standards that she will break for a different dude, but ultimately will sit up here and try and have you jumping through hoops and doing all of this type of stuff. She trying to change you. She trying to strip you of your masculinity, and that's what society is about. And then you have other men that perpetuate this narrative. Yeah, you have to do this. You have to take your own dates. You have to do, bro. When we in the wilderness, if we that generation and we see that, or when it's bombs and stuff going off, Iran wars and all this stuff. If we in a time frame where survival, it ain't no flowers and dates. What are we talking about? So all of that is
they,
vanity. It's
they,
it's a whole book
they,
of. Yeah, go ahead.
my fault to interrupt you, brother. I was about to say they're gonna be the ones like they're gonna be like the Israel who was complaining when they didn't have the substance of the Egyptians. They wanted
Facts.
the fish. They wanted the fish. They didn't want the what's the name of that small bird that they was getting? Um Quail. They didn't want the quail. They wanted they wanted the fish. They wanted the gold. They wanted everything that they had from the Egyptians. It's gonna be like that. With some people, it's gonna be exactly like that. They're gonna miss Babylon. They're gonna miss the 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 quote unquote substance or the things that she gave them. So they're gonna complain. But just like they were they were weeded out, you know, Though the tares were taken out of the congregation, it's gonna be the same thing, man. But yeah, it's time to be more bold and sure and confident in ourselves and in our God more than ever. You know,
Absolutely.
we have a duty to be fulfilled, and we gotta respect ourselves and respect our gods enough to actually do it. And we can't compromise for anything, not for these jobs, not for the for a woman, not for no box. You know, we have to actually be in our purpose because it's gonna come get to a time to where, you know, even like you said with the wilderness, or what if you were in a situation where they want you to take that mark? Are you gonna compromise, take that mark, and lose your soul, or are you gonna do what you got to do? Are you gonna stand firm in your integrity and be a man and be like, nah, I don't need that. I have confidence in my God, you know, and through Christ we have this understanding. And us, you know, the same like these women denying or you know that saying having that independent spirit or whatever, that's like us saying, man, well, I can be strong and independent without Christ.
Facts.
When when that's not the case.
Facts.
There's the most high he set an order for a reason. And that's man, that's why this world, that's why the system has made up these structures to break up the family, keep the man out of the household. We'll give you these benefits. You know, it's really a diabolical infrastructure that the adversary has created to, you know, tear the families apart, to break down man, to turn man into into soft beings and turn a woman into prideful, boasting, you know, harlots. And it's if you know have the ears to hear and the eyes to see, you know, most are willing, it's time to take the steps to not be in that margin. You know, it is dire. This is soul salvation we talking about, and we you know we hope that you can receive the words of edification and just be confident in yourself, be confident in your God, and understand when you're right, you're right. Stay humble, have humility, but do not be a coward when it comes to truth. Speak the truth and spare not.
Stand bold. It was plenty of prophets. They was challenged by, you know, if we look at Prophet Elijah and King Ahab and Jezebel, right? Elijah was challenged for these people that was worshiping Baal, and this was the king of Israel and his wife. And so it's like Elijah didn't step down and was like, "Oh, you're the king, you're the queen. I'm good. I'm well, God doesn't matter," and that's what a lot of us do a lot of times. So we can't be conformists. We can't be conformists for no man nor woman, right? We fear the Lord, and the fear of the Lord is the start of all wisdom and understanding. So with that being said, once again, announcement that you know the Discord. If you got this far, first up, we appreciate you. I appreciate you. Hit the like, comment,
Most definitely.
subscribe button. I said we was gonna be doing some different things over here. I'm testing out new content. So if you got this far, you know, like I said, you are appreciated. Let me know if you enjoyed our little mini podcast, I guess, because we speak all the me and his brother. We speak all the time on the phone and whatnot. And you know, I met him. We went on a land walk. It's this YouTuber named New Breed Global Truth. He tapped in with some people. We had a camping trip down in South Carolina. I met him down there. You stay in Atlanta. I stay in Detroit. So you know we spread far and wide, and that's the whole point of this Discord, right? That I'm doing. Also, before I get into that, my mind be everywhere, bruh. But yeah, man. Before I get to back into the Discord, you know, like I said, just let me know if you like these video ideas. You know, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know y'all thoughts on anything we spoke on. As far as this Discord, like I said, I met this brother. You know, it was seem random, but nothing is a coincidence. And me and him, we've been locked in ever since, bruh. And
Most
so,
definitely.
you know, I end up having other people on the show. I guess it's a show now, but I was like, might as well go ahead and just bring these conversations in front of people since we have them all the time on the phone and whatnot. And if you intrigued by this type of talk, this is how we talk all the time, bruh. And that's what the Discord is for, If you got stuff you want to talk about, edification, something you need, something you wanna, if even if it's coming from a place of like correcting us on certain things like that, we don't be above, I don't the criticism to say, it's just got to be respectable. We not in the spirit of debate. So join the join the Discord server. I'm gonna have it in the description. But go ahead.
I was about to say, man, we just try to, uh, have conversations that stimulate the mind, man. Other than the programs that we're that we're pushed to. Actually, think outside the box. Have a mind of your own. Think about true meaning and true purpose, and that's what's important. That's what's
Absolutely.
important.
But with all of that being
Yes, sir.
said, it's been your boy, the chosen one, God's chosen son, and Brother Connect. And we
Yes,
signing out.
sir. Peace.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Embrace my faith tightly, knowing its weakness in the flesh. Through humbling and meekness, reap the sweetness of what's blessed. Life is too short to regress from your regrets. Contrite on these nights, putting my merit to the test. If evil is the cathedral full of people, then I know a matter of time for the world loses hope. The breath that I'm giving in the moments I got left. Use my pen as my sword, let the Lord guide my steps.